Alrighty folks, coming at you guys today with update version 1.10 discussion video. Finally, I know I'm recording this late, I know the update is upon us, but I had a busy weekend. Let's get right into it. These are a pretty big set of patch notes, so we're not going to read through all of them, just going to give you guys the highlights. More than anything, this video, as well as these other patch notes videos, are for discussion purposes. The more you guys get in the comments, find someone you agree with, find someone you disagree with, the more chance we have of a meta seeing some honest community feedback so they can continue improving to this game of predecessor that we enjoy. Let's get right into it. Update version 1.10 is here, including a lot of new stuff. We'll read it right off the patch notes, but the 25th, which is probably the day that you're seeing this, this patch went live in the morning. I do expect there to be some downtime on the servers to make these adjustments, you know, with the world shift and everything else happening, and the whole main menu item build saver getting implemented. Assuming there's going to be some downtime, but they've been pretty good about it in the last couple patches of having them up quickly. So let's get into it, talk about all we're getting in this new patch. We are getting Eden, the new hero, the face of the patch, of course. The first manaless hero, the first stance-changing carry hero. Going to be interesting. We're not going to harp on her too much. More likely than not, right, she will be blatantly overpowered and broken, game-breaking in the meta and banned in every ranked game for at least the first 3, if not 6 weeks following her release, so we're not going to focus too much on her. Echoes of Immortals Battlepass, they showed off some of these skins a little over a week ago. Does look like some cool Egyptian-themed skins in this Battlepass. Maybe we'll actually pick it up. Didn't pick up the last one because the face of it was an over-sexualized Shimby skin, and, you know, I'm not going to support that here in the Cove. Ranked mode split and adjustments, we'll read into that briefly, but ranked is resetting. Last time everyone went down 7 ranks. I'm assuming that'll happen again. I haven't been playing much ranked anyway. So, I mean, I didn't even hit plat, I don't think, this season. But, you know, maybe we'll hit plat right here at the end. Who knows? Next iteration of World Shift, Frostfall. This is an interesting one. Some things I dislike about how they're implementing the new World Shift mechanic. We'll talk about that when we get to that section. Nitro balancing changes. I haven't played a single game of Nitro in the last... over a month, probably closer to 6 to 9 weeks, right? Nitro's not for me. Collection of new items. This is by far the biggest, most impactful change coming in this meta for sure. A ton of new items, man. Do they all fit the theme of the current predecessor items? That's debatable, but there's a bunch of new items that are going to be in the game, so you're going to have to learn how to play with them and play around them. One of the most requested features, the Loadout Builder, is finally here. They did show this off in the dev stream, and the UI for it looked pretty decent there. So looking forward to that. Share features included in that as well. So first off, new hero Eden. Robot hero, stance changer. Changes between melee and carry. Think of Uller from Smite if you played that. Except for this is a manaless stance changer. Check out this ability overview video if you want to get the scoop on all of her abilities. I will link it in the description as well. But pretty complicated kit, more complicated than I can really describe without you seeing the abilities video, because it is stance changing and manaless at the same time, which is crazy to try to shoehorn both of those into one hero, but you know, because generally, like with Wukong, you're a stance changer, but you're limited by your mana. So you have 6 abilities, you know, effectively, but you can't just constant spam them and switch stances and spam them because you're limited by mana. In this case, you have effectively 6 abilities and 2 ultimates on top of that without a mana restriction. This is going to be very interesting, very difficult for them to balance. That's why I say I lean towards assuming that this hero is going to be overpowered as all get out on release, but we will see. So Eden generates heat when dealing damage to heroes with her basic attacks and abilities. Upon reaching 300 heat, she overheats, gaining access to its limit break abilities, which are ultimate. There's 1 for each stance. Heat will decay after not dealing damage for 3.5 seconds. And her basic attacks are at a fixed rate, converting 1% bonus attack speed into 0.5 additional physical power instead. So attack speed does not increase Eden's auto attack speed. It just gives her extra power because her attacks are already at a fixed rate, which is very fast, basically. So yeah, basic attacks, there's a melee and a range stance. On hit effectiveness at 10% because you are attacking very fast. 8 attacks per second when in range stance is pretty crazy. And then rapid 4 hit light attack chain in melee stance, on hit at 40% effectiveness. And then of course the heavy hit at the end, dealing an extra, way more damage than the previous hits. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all this kit because it's a lot of abilities. Watch the ability video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Eden is going to be balanced? Can a hero like this be balanced? I guess that's kind of the biggest question, right? Limit Break, which is her ultimate, again, is on 0-second cooldown, and you start the game with access to these abilities. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Now, augments I haven't really looked at too much. Related ability, primary melee. Axiom strikes deal 80% damage, has 40% cooldown duration, reduced cooldown, and grants 50% movement speed. Okay, that's interesting if you're going to be focusing on melee. Eden. Focus lens, primary range, shred, hitting an enemy with Tachlon? Would this be Tachyon? I'm just going to have a stroke trying to read this. I'm assuming that's Tachyon, but that seems like an extra syllable. Lance shreds their physical armor by 20% for 4 seconds and reduces that's crazy. 20% armor shred in an augment is kind of crazy. And then Echo ultimate, after casting Limit Break, Apex Cannon, or Limit Break, Heaven's Comet, the cooldowns of your basic abilities are instantly oh my gosh, man. And you got to keep in mind all this stuff on reduced ability cooldown, that these are not, there's no mana cost associated with these. So I don't know, man. It's a hard one to balance. We need to see her hit the game first and see how this plays, because it looks ridiculous. But let me know your thoughts down below on Eden. We will chat it up and see. Maybe you've read into this some or seen some of the gameplay that the Creators Guild have been showing, and you don't think she's that strong. We can have a discussion about it for sure. That's the whole point of this. But I just don't see how a hero like this doesn't completely power creep all of the other carries and potentially assassins too, depending on how people end up building her. But we will see. World Shift Frostfall. This is the next big thing. We've been having this Cataclysm Meteor Shower for a while. Now they're changing it to where either the Cataclysm or the Frostfall will occur every match, and it's basically a 50-50 shot of which one you get. That is cool. I was never really a big supporter of World Shift. I'm kind of still skeptical and questioning who they were talking to that said that the game needed something like this. That the game getting world shifts on a map that people are already saying is too small. It doesn't really seem logical or like an efficient use of resources to me, rather than just giving us a new map that's more appropriately sized. But hey, what do I know? I've barely played this game. Either way, the second iteration of World Shift is here, introducing new ways to traverse the map with ice, snow, and glaciers, creating fresh routes to rotate, escape, and ambush. A snowstorm will also limit your vision just enough that you might miss something lurking in the shadows. This all does look really cool. This is more... They showed this off a lot and talked about it a lot in the dev stream, which I will also link below. This was really focused more on creating new walkways around the map, rather than the Cataclysm was breaking down walls to create new paths. This is creating walkways over top of different portions of the map, connecting different verticality points in the map. So it does look very cool. Now, some things are changing, though, that I'm really not a fan of. World Shift Frostfall mechanics breakdown. Again, like I said, I don't know how many people were actually asking for World Shift in the first place when it first came out as Cataclysm, and I don't really know how many people positively responded to it either. But now, the Shaper no longer needs to be killed for World Shift to trigger. Sorry, I mean, I guess, right? Sorry if we wanted to have any sort of strategy related to taking the Shaper and manually triggering World Shift, because instead, World Shift now triggers automatically at 14 minutes in Standard, with the map randomly shifting to either Frostfall or Cataclysm. Man, I don't want to be too negative and go on too much about this, but Let me know your thoughts. Is this a better solution? I mean, since they announced this, I've been paying attention in our matches on stream, and generally the first Shaper isn't taken until more like the 18 to 20 minute mark, which means this world shift, and it doesn't even spawn at until 15, so this world shift will always be occurring earlier in matches now. I get it, there are probably some pros and cons to that, but I cannot back this. We'll see how it plays in game. It's always gameplay first. We'll see how it plays in game, but I really cannot back this this new system. Frostfall map mechanics. During Frostfall, the map transforms into an icy snowscape. Yeah, we've already read through all of this. Various new geysers are also present to help navigate. The Frost Shaper appears in the Shaper Pit. There is now some different abilities associated to the Shaper based on if it is the Frostfall event or the Cataclysm event. So that is cool. These are more like, icy themed. The Shaper does look cool with a new icy skin. Fires icy projectiles. 12 stacks of damage reduction for a total of 60% damage reduction. When heroes damage the Shaper, it loses a stack. Stacks regenerate once every 1.5 seconds. So yeah, it'll be quite tanky, quite bulky on those initial couple hits. Instead of spawning seedlings down the lane, like the Cataclysm Shaper, Frost Shaper grants all players on the killing team the following buff, 120 seconds. This is important, you want to keep this stuff in mind, because we're used to, you just take the Cataclysm Shaper, you get the seedlings, that's quite nice. Now you get a 120 second buff. On damaging minions or heroes, apply a 10% slow for 3 seconds, not a very significant slow, but it is for 3 seconds at least. And then on damaging towers, slow their attack speed by 40% for 3 seconds. And there is a visual icy VFX associated with this as well. And then of course you get the global golden XP. So rather than getting lane pressure through spawning seedlings, you take the Frost Shaper and now your attacks slow towers attack speed. It is by 40%, which is quite significant, but I don't know, would you rather have this or the seedlings? I feel like I would rather have the seedlings spawn. I feel like that's a stronger buff to your team, being that it means that a lane will split push and yo-yo on its own and stack the minion wave up on its own. If it is stacked back on you and you get the seedling, then it causes your wave to build up big. Or if your lane is already pushed all the way to their tower and you get the seedling will likely go take that tower for you. So not too big a fan of this. Not a fan of the whole it's going to happen automatically at 14 minutes thing. But we'll see how it plays in game. And we will see how it plays in game. Let me know your thoughts on the new Frostfall and the new World Shaper, World Shift features. Next part, the Loadout Builder. They showed this off a lot in the dev stream. It looks quite good. You're able to save builds, save a potential final build, and let it auto-build for you. Save different, I don't know if I can pull this up. Okay, this might be a little off-center but you get the idea here. If you want to commit to damage, if you want to build anti-tank, you have like flex items you can place around here in your build saver. You also have a lot of text spots over here if you want to leave reminders for yourself or details for other people if you're sharing this build. Hey, here's how you build it, here's how you play it, here's the ability combo you want to look for, all that kind of stuff. So this is very in-depth. And it looked good when they showed it off for sure. So looking forward to this. We will see how it all plays in game. You basically go select the hero from the heroes list on the main menu, and then you select Loadout Builder from there in a build tab. Looks quite good. We will see if it's buggy or not on release. They seem to have it pretty ironed out in the test build that they were showing off in the dev stream. So Ranked news, version 1.10 marks the second split of Season 2 in Ranked. I'm not really a big fan of us having splits this frequently, especially when the player base is this small currently. But that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I don't even been playing that much Ranked because we're usually just hopping into quick matches with the goons. But anyone who played at least one Ranked match will receive a profile icon and banner displaying their highest rank. Players who win 15 games will unlock a Sereth skin. These are the Sereth skins they showed off. They're color coordinated to whatever the highest rank you got to was. Rank reset as of version 1.10. All ranked players will be reset 5 divisions back. I believe last time it was 7 divisions back or to the lowest rank. Internal MMR will also be reset. This is nice. I'm assuming this is MMR related to both ranked and quick match, but we'll see, I guess. So we'll see how that feels in game. Additionally, version 1.10 introduces tier skipping, the first step towards more robust placement system coming in the future. Starting after the split, if your performance stands out when promoting up to the next division, the system will allow you to skip a division or two and jump straight to a higher rank. You can skip up to 2 divisions at once. Up until Gold 1, tier skipping is not possible past Gold 1, which is great. Next rank split coming end of February. So, looks good. You know, nothing really to complain here. This Sarah set of skins is actually pretty cool. We'll see. We'll see, man. MMR reset going down in a couple divisions. But by far the biggest news here is new items. Now, like I said, like I always have, timestamps below. You can skip straight to the hero changes if you're interested, hero balance changes and stuff like that. But new items, I actually think they show off some other stuff here before we get into looking at all these new items. But one new crest evolution for each of the existing crest lines, 24 new tier 3 items, which is quite crazy. It's more than I'm going to be able to talk about here, or else this video is going to be an hour and a half long if I give my opinion on each of these new items. Keep in mind that the 700 sub special is going to be an all items tier list that I have put off making because it is going to include all of these new items and new crest, which is quite crazy. I'm going to have to get a lot of resources together making that video, but look forward to that one in the near future. We're going to have to like at least see these items in game for a little bit first before we do that, but all items tier list coming. Thank you guys for 700 subs. Been a great ride on the channel. Look forward to that. We'll talk about these new items here down below. We're just going to keep going down in order here. New skins, Sunforged Sevrog looks quite good. These are the skins they showed off, these Egyptian kind of looking skins. Sunforged Sevrog was kind of like the biggest one. New ability VFX and SFX is quite cool. Recall and jump pad animations as well with that one, as a legendary tier skin for Sevrog. Sunforged Sparrow does look like a very cool Sparrow skin, less overly sexualized than we would normally get with these skins, right? Especially in the Battle Pass. And then Sunforged Fang Mao looks quite sick with the Anubis style helmet and everything. So very cool. Sunforged Yin, that's not bad either, as a rare tier skin. And then Sunforged Countess, looking more similar to a recolor, but it is a common tier skin, Battle Pass exclusive on the free track for that one. So everyone should be able to get that one, no problem. Z Protocol Eden's launch skin looks pretty cool, very transformery. We will take it. Bundles. Donate to them if you want. If you don't. Opal store, some cool stuff. Finally, I've been kind of holding my opals because there's not too many opal skins I really want. They did introduce the Arctic Rogue set into the opal store. Now getting Grand Champion Crunch, to the opal store, quite cool. They're a kind of, not exactly a reskin of the whatever they call it, the Fight Night Crunch. A little bit different for sure. Grand Champion Crunch is, that's quite a cool one. New Battle Pass, Echoes of the Immortals. It's a kind of standard to this thing, the same Battle Passes we've been getting. Keep in mind these are no longer time locked, so you can come back to this in the future if you're interested in it. It's the same sort of lineup that we normally get, Some quantum cores, some ion cores, banners, overhead sprays, all that good stuff. A couple skins, 4 skins, the ones we saw, plus the free ones, so the Sparrow, Feng Mao, and Rev, which that's not Rev, that's Eden. Maybe Rev or Sev, maybe that Sev skin is not in the Battle Pass. Maybe this is not in the Battle Pass, maybe this is like a purchasable one, and then these other 4 ones are the ones in the past. At least that's what it looks like right here. Vault Pass, Ash of the Dam. As a side note to this, the Ash of the Dam Battle Pass can now be purchased again. Yep, so this will be happening with all of the Battle Passes in the future. They will re-release them untime locked. So you can, if you want to finish them off, or if you weren't playing during that time at all and you want some of the rewards from them, you can pick those up. FSR 3.1.4 support. This is just AMD. Now supports AMD Fidelity. I'm a console guy, so this does not really affect me, but if you are AMD guy, or I guess, yeah, I mean, GTX 10 series or RX series, so I mean, this will probably affect a lot of people. Frame generation, entirely new frames created between rendered ones to boost perceived frame rate. You know, this is kind of some of the more modern stuff on the PC side of things, on the PC graphic rendering side of things. So if you're interested in that, FRS 3.1.4 support is here. Localization, with version 1, we're expanding the offer to available languages, Mandarin, Chinese, and Korean. Both the game and the announcer voice are fully localized in these languages. Great. That gives us more, get this stuff online first and then work on other sort of voice packs like we have in Smite for like heroes voicing certain callouts and stuff like that for sure. But we'll take some more language localization. Nitro changes, again, I really don't even want to read through these because these are not going to affect me. I'm not playing Nitro. I did read through these before. Basically, the Nitro games are going too long. There's not enough separation between how fast Nitro games are and how fast quick match games are. I hate to say it, but the solution to this is to just introduce Brawl back into the game where every match was over in 8 to 12 minutes, guaranteed. You couldn't even force a Brawl match to go longer than 12 minutes. So they want to get the average match time down to about 15 minutes. I'm just not a big Nitro guy. Shout out to everyone out there who is enjoying Nitro and playing Nitro. I get it. You get to play more games in Nitro. If you want to play Nitro other than quick match, you get more games in. So they're doing faster minion spawning waves with fewer minions per wave, increased or shifts around in the golden XP gains and all sorts of stuff like that going on in Nitro. So if you are interested in Nitro, come read through this in the patch notes. But if you're like me, you haven't been playing Nitro. Also, the World Shift will be happening at 8 minutes in this, and Orb Prime spawning at 10 minutes. So interesting, man. They're trying to make it quicker. I guess Brawl was not it for them. They keep trying to push this Nitro on us. They said they were going to remove Nitro when ARAM hit. They didn't remove Nitro. I guess there's too many people playing it. It is what it is, man. I'm not a supporter of removing functioning content. So I get it. If you've got Nitro functioning and people are enjoying it, don't remove it. But also, you did remove Legacy and Brawl. So I'm kind of still a little bit hesitant to support this kind of stuff when the two game modes that I would actually still at least play, Legacy I would only play, right? I wouldn't even play on the current map if Legacy was in the game. You remove, but then you leave Nitro out. So it is what it is. Ping wheel updates. Obviously, we got the good job. We're getting the good job ping back, which we had to do a community event to get the good job ping back. I don't know why that was a thing in the first place, but we are getting good job back, replacing stand and fight on the comms wheel, so have to get the muscle memory for hitting that command right back, because the out of mana one was the one that replaced it, and everyone's been saying out of mana to mean good job since they removed it, so finally we'll have good job back anyway. Replacements. Never Surrender is being replaced with Thanks. This will probably get spammed sarcastically right. Cooldowns has been renamed to Statuses. That's like a pathway to get to some of your other callouts, right? And then Gateway status is replaced by Out of Mana. So, Reorganization, Attack Shaper replaces Attack River buff. Yeah. So just some stuff moving around on the ping wheel. Main thing is we're getting Thanks and we're getting Good Job and stuff like that back. Get ready for these to be spammed sarcastically. Just mute people, guys. Just mute people when they're in there when someone is coming into the games and all they're doing is trying to dog their teammates out and they're ping spamming and up. Just mute them, and don't lower yourself to their level and try to type back to them and call them trash and stuff. We're here to play games. We're here to enjoy it. We're here to win games. And the more you're spamming Thanks and Good Job sarcastically at your team, the less likely they are to perform well, and of course that means the more likely your team is to lose. So if you want to win games, don't do all this kind of stuff, man. Just mute them. New item breakdown. Like I said, 8 new crest evolutions. No one cares about tier 2 and tier 1 items, but 24 tier 3 items. is quite interesting. Like I alluded to earlier, I don't really feel like most of these fit the current set of items that are in the game. I would have liked to see more of, hey, this patch you're getting 2 new items. Hey, this patch you're getting 2 new items. We'll adjust them. You know, we'll balance them for the live patch. Here, next patch, hey, here's 2 more items to try out, instead of just, hey, let's drop 24 items on you and 8 crest evolutions. It's kind of crazy. Don't really want to go through all of these. Like I said, this video is already going to be long, so the gist of it is most of these crests, which we'll look at real quick, these 8 crests, most of them are centered around giving you a projectile or a movement speed option, or in some cases both, which I guess is okay. You're taking one of the other crest options to pick up an extra projectile type ability or movement ability that's on a long cooldown, but at the same time you're kind of removing some of those uniquenesses and drawbacks that are within the hero kits when you do this kind of stuff. Like, oh, you know, Chimera, he doesn't have mobility, you know, so when you see that Chimera take even the short dash of Nex or something off meta, you notice it because, oh, now he has a little bit more mobility on the escape front of things. Or this hero doesn't have any sort of ranged ability. Looking at Chimera again, Chimera doesn't have any sort of ranged ability. Well, now what does he take? Something that gives him a lob, a grenade, if he wants to go off of the Ranger crest? Like, it's kind of taking away a little bit of those drawbacks. I'm fine with that because it does put more emphasis on builds, and I'm a big builds guy, I'm a big spreadsheets guy, so it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts on these. Exodus off the Marksman crest. Lob a grenade that pierces enemy units. The grenade explodes upon hitting terrain, causing a stun. Enemies hit by the explosion are launched backwards from it and take 20% more damage for you for 1 second. So not a very long debuff there, but why does that even have to be included? You're already giving someone a ranged stun coming off the Marksman crest. I mean, think about the capabilities of this. It's only a 0.1 second stun, but that's an interrupt. So now you're looking at every carry having the option to stop a Sparrow ult. You know, to stop a Kira ult, if they want to do that in lane with this crest. Kind of removes some of the uniqueness from the kits, doesn't it? To kind of remove some of that uniqueness from saying, Decker, when you see that Sparrow ulting, you got a stunner. Now it's, Decker, when you see that Sparrow ulting, try to stun her. I'm going to try to stun her too. One of us is going to hit it. So, you know, that's what I'm saying with some of these items. But hey, we'll see how it plays in game. You know, that's what I always say. I don't want to be overly negative. Just giving you guys my thoughts. Abyssal Dart, they showed this off in the dev stream. Fire-piercing dart that deals true damage to enemies in its path. If it hits an enemy hero, it stops and marks them for 2.5 seconds. Within this time, you can reactivate it to teleport to the marked target. Upon teleporting, deal extra damage and slow them by 70% for 0.3 seconds. You know, this is like a lock-on Countess dash type thing that anyone is going to be able to build off a Rogue's crest. Quite interesting. Gravitum, this is off of the Warrior crest. Fire a projectile. Like I said, these are mostly based around firing projectiles and having extra mobility. Fire a projectile of unstable energy that pierces non-heroes and has infinite range. Woohoo! You know, let's take away that unique factor from some of these infinite range abilities. Talking about, obviously, Gid Rock if he's got the infinite range rock, or Skylar Ultimate. Let's take away that unique factor and just give a Warrior's crest that has an infinite range projectile associated with it. Deals 50 plus bonus scaling magical damage in its path and grounds the first hero hit for 2 seconds, interrupting them and preventing the use of mobility tools for the duration. It seems pretty good. Seems pretty strong to me. Void Gazer, off of the Mage crest, once again, fire a projectile of Void that pierces non-heroes, deals damage, applies a slow, take bonus damage for 3 seconds. You know, Winter's Fury, release a sphere, this is off the Occult crest, release a sphere of icy energy that expands 800 units over 3 seconds. Enemy units that enter the zone will receive damage and a decaying slow. Additionally, enemies hit by chill rain have 10% more magical damage. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. This is a really weird one right here. Pygmy Dust off of the Consort crest. Target yourself or another hero to shrink them for 3.5 seconds. While shrunken, allied heroes gain decaying movement speed. Enemy heroes are slowed if you shrink them and deal 25% less damage. So, interesting options with this one for sure. At least it's not a projectile, right? And then, oh man, this is the one. This is, a lot of these are getting right over the edge of too goobery for me. Too silly, too smitey, too goobery to really look like they fit in the game. This is one of those, the Star Shroom. Place a bouncy Star Shroom at the target location that lasts for 120 seconds. If a hero is at the location, they are immediately bounced up 1,200 units. While the Star Shroom is present in the world, heroes that jump on it will be bounced into the air. Once the Star Shroom has been bounced on once, it will be destroyed after 10 seconds. Each hero can only bounce on the Star Shroom once every 5 seconds. You're placing a bouncy mushroom on the ground and letting people jump around like a trampoline. Does that fit the theme of Predecessor? I guess you have to tell me. Maybe I'm not familiar with the theme. And then another one that they showed off early that also feels like a Pokemon move. Earth Spirit. It's the boulder charge. It's get boulder roll. Transform into a boulder and become unstoppable for 5 seconds. While in this form, you automatically roll forward and can steer left or right using movement. Deal damage with target current health scaling on it, by the way, to enemies in your path. Upon colliding with an enemy hero, stun them for 0.75 seconds. And in the transformation, the cooldown of this effect is also reduced by 45% if you successfully collide with an enemy hero. Geodude, use rollout, I guess, right? Let's put that on Titans and see how they do. It is on a long cooldown unless you hit it. Removing 45 seconds at least gets it to a more reasonable cooldown, but otherwise it is on a long cooldown. So, but the main thing is you're becoming unstoppable, which means you can escape with this quite easily. Again, this is something that's normally unique to, let's say, the Steel Charge when he has the Unstoppable Augment. It's unique that he can use that as an escape to avoid CC and get out of bad situations. Now you've got something else in the game that does that, removing some of that uniqueness from him specifically and making more priority on builds. Like I said, I'm a fan of builds, but these are all just a little over the line for me. We'll see how they play in game. So that's the new crest upgrades, new tier 1 items. We've got an item that gives mana regen based on missing mana as a tier 1 item, but it is more than 350. Same thing with this Tenacious Gem, so you're not really buying these, for a tier 1 effect. You're just buying these if they're building into something else. Tier 2's the same way. We've got a healed and shield power tier 2 item, and a just health and mana statted item, a split armors tier 2 item, and then a magical armor and health tier 2 item. So you're not building any of these. The only one you would consider maybe is Spirit Locket, but then you're still probably not building it unless you're building it into something still, right? Then we get to the 24 new items. Now, like I said, I'm not going to go over all these. This video is already going to be long. I just want to have a discussion with you guys and give you somewhere to talk with the other goons and discuss what we want to see, what our opinions are, our initial reactions are to this version 1.10 patch. But I will give you some of these highlights. There are cursed items now. There's a couple of them. They come with a downside and an upside. That's kind of the theme of these cursed items. For example, here we have the Cursed Ring. It gives magical and physical power, which is quite odd. Very few items. I guess Plasma Blade is the only other one right now that gives that, I think. And then attack speed. Curse of Swiftness. Increase your total attack speed by 1.4 times. However, your basic attacks deal 35% less damage. And then also increases the attacks per second cap from 3 to 4. And you cannot own more than one cursed item. So, an interesting item. An odd stat spread for most heroes who are wanting to build on-hit synergy. The magical power is going to be pretty much lost on them. Of course, there will be heroes like Twin Blast, Revenant, maybe, probably not Revenant, right? You're never building on hit on Revenant, but Twin Blast, Skylar, where you don't mind having that magical power for this kind of odd effect. This is basically designed for on-hit effectiveness, right? Because you're increasing the attack speed cap, or the attacks per second cap. So, an interesting item, one of the cursed items that comes with an upside and a downside. Necrosis is an ultimate haste item that gives attack speed, power, and crit chance, which is quite interesting, and your ultimate ability does 15% more damage. So this is a physical crit side of things to compensate or compare to Overseer for the magical guys. Ruination. Successful basic attacks on hit against enemies apply a bleed effect that drains the target's mana. So another thing we're seeing with some of these new items, in addition to cursed items, is we're seeing some mana drain items. This is a basic attack on hit mana drain item. There is also a on ability hit magical side of things mana drain item now as well. So we're seeing some stuff like that. We're seeing a lot of items that have new overly pronounced VFX. They talked about this, and this does not make me very hopeful. This is one thing I did want to express, particularly like this item is a good example. With these new set of items, is they talked about it in the dev stream, hey, make me some new items, right? And don't just make me some new items, make me a bunch of new items. And don't just make me a bunch of new items, make me a bunch of new items that people can see the effects of. We want people to be able to notice the effects, because the average player is not adept enough or experienced enough at or even aware enough of their surroundings to know what 50 power 10% attack speed feels like versus 45 power 20% attack speed. Or they're not, adept enough or aware enough to know what the stacking flat pin from Deathstalker feels like, or the stacking, or Viper for that matter, or they don't understand what it feels like to have the Omnivamp and Armor Shred of a Magnify item. How does that actually feel in game? They can't perceive that because they can't see it. Therefore, we need more impactful, more VFX based items so that the players build something and they see that it does something. I know what it feels like to have 8% Omnivamp on Magnify and an Armor Shred piece. I know what stacking Deathstalker, what Dust Devil, I know what it feels like to have these items in, and I can gauge in an engagement, what am I going to do? Is my damage is going to increase per shot? Am I going to be able to keep up with them? Do I have this option? Do I have anti-heal? All this stuff. But doing this type of stuff, we're shoehorning in all of these visual effects to items, I'm not that big a fan of. I'm not very much against it or anything like that. I just think it's a weird way to go when we don't have very many items in the game that do that kind of stuff, and now we're suddenly getting just a ton dropped on us. Anyway, I say that because it's relative to Scattershot, because upon successful basic attack or on-hit attack, summon 2 projectiles from the target. These projectiles home towards the 2 closest enemy units, each dealing damage, and they do apply on-hit at 50% effectiveness, and can critically strike and benefit from lifesteal. So this is very strong for wave clear. This is immediately, and the stat line on it is quite good as well. I see this being one of the strongest wave clear items, probably surpassing Stormbreaker, right, in how effective this is, because this is on a very short cooldown. In-game, they were showing this on a half-second cooldown. Whether, that's not mentioned here, but whether it is on that cooldown or it is just on every basic attack, that's a lot. That's a lot of extra damage coming out. So anyway, rant over on the VFX. Keeping an eye out for these items in-game having extra VFX and counters and procs that you can witness. Alternator is an odd one. Alternate ability deals 12% bonus damage, and then damaging enemy heroes with your alternate ability. You get a stack once per ability upon reaching. Return to base to evolve this item into Alternator Evolved, which I guess is this version right here. Where casting your alternate ability reduces the current cooldown of your basic abilities by 12%. Mana Scythe, basic attacks deal 2 times damage to minions and monsters. It's finally nice that we have an effect like this in game. We've kind of needed something like that. Just an effect like that would kind of be enough, especially with the stat line. 12 physical pin on this item and 8 lifesteal. Additionally, you gain 0.5 physical power each time you kill a siege, minion, or camp leader. It's pretty crazy to see a stacking effect like that on an item. But wait, there's more, you know. We hit him with the Billy Mays action out here. While within 2,500 units of an enemy unit, if they do not have an allied unit with 800 of themselves, you deal 15% more damage to them. So let's throw an extra effect on there on an item that's cheap and has a decent stat line. That's going to be a pretty crazy one for most junglers early game, right? Or carries, for that matter, if you want to stack up for the late game. Fighter, Solstice, gain 25 stacks each second up to a maximum of 100. Takedowns grants you 100 immediately. Next basic attack consumes all the stacks, deals 10 damage, increased based on number of stacks consumed. If Mournfall is activated while at 100 stacks, the damage of this effect is increased by 2.25. Heal for 150% of the damage dealt. So this is similar to other, you know, of those stack up to 100 items. Then your next attack does a proc type items. Oh man, there's just too many of these to go through, man. I'm not going to go through all of these, like I said, but upon casting a basic ability, reduce your other current basic abilities by a second. Upon casting your ultimate, reduce your others by 2 seconds. 40% effective for stance-changing heroes. Here's another one for basic attacks and abilities hit against enemy heroes. Apply a Snack of Scorn. Upon applying 3 snacks to a hero, activate Shell Smash. Deal damage to the hero based on level and gain a shield for 3 seconds. So interesting. Mage, couple interesting items here. Takedowns reduce the current basic ability cooldowns by 60% and restore 30% of your missing mana. Quite decent there for multi-kill type heroes. Claws of Hermes. This is a mana burn. This is like I was talking about for the mage side of things. We saw the physical side of things. This is the mage side of things, mana burn. Against melee heroes, basic attacks drain 2% of their max mana. Against ranged heroes, drain 3% of their max mana instead. Deal true damage to the target equal to 75% of the mana drained. If they are a ranged hero, mana burn's effect is 50% as effective. So some kind of weird wording in there to get across the point that ranged heroes take less damage, but equal to 75%. If they're a ranged hero, mana burn's effect is 50% as effective. But against ranged heroes, it drains 3% of their max mana, but they take less damage. So they lose more mana, but they take less damage, I guess. And then abilities deal 0 to 10% additional magical damage based on the target's missing mana, similar to how Bellica's ultimate functions. Greaves, another set of Greaves, right? We need more mobility. Gain the ability to double jump while midair. After activating the double jump, emit a shockwave upon landing that deals damage and slows. So, you know, build moon boots and this, fly around the map, right? Life core. Upon damaging heroes, gain charges equal to 15% of the damage dealt. Upon reaching 100 charges, damage a hero to trigger Healing Wisp. Here's a VFX for you. Fire a Healing Wisp at the lowest health allied target within 1,000 units radius that homes in on them and heals them. You know, this is decent. It's a kind of an odd stat line, though, for a support item. Lot of power. Kind of too much power and mana for a support item and pretty costly, but we'll see. Ryan, gain attack speed equal to 80% of your ability haste is quite crazy for potential auto-attacking mages that are building big haste, or like Shinbi. We talked about this item relative to Shinbi. Upon successful basic attacks or on-hit attacks, increase your damage dealt to the target by 1.5% for 3 seconds up to a maximum of 15. Pretty good auto-attack mage synergy item right there for sure. Spectral Schematics. Upon immobilizing enemy hero, deal 40 plus target current health damage to them. Interesting. 20 haste stat line, low power. Devotion. Your heal and shields are 15% stronger when used on allies that are below 40% health, low health. Upon taking magical damage, if the incoming damage is greater than 120, reduce it by 20%. Great tank item here, giving both power and armor on the magical side of things. Intra's Blessing. While an allied hero within 1,000 units of you is immobilized, grant them a shield. This is kind of similar to a 15-second cooldown per target. This is kind of similar to one of the Smite starter items. Luxford Lantern, takedowns and ward kills permanently grant +2 physical power up to a maximum of 30. This is kind of interesting. We haven't seen anything like this before that gives you extra benefits for taking out wards. Could be interesting if this functions on against Wraith wards, counter building this into Wraith and stacking up a bunch of extra free power from that. And then also, while out of combat, gain bonus movement speed. Kind of crazy to throw that effect on top of it, but hey. Upon standing within 150 units of an allied hero, grant them bonus max health or a bonus shield based off max health and level for 4 seconds, and then subsequent applications on the same hero are 50% effective, but it does stack up. So kind of an interesting one there. Again, another split armor and health item. Don't have too many of those right now, so we're thankful to get a couple more of those. Curse Scroll, your basic attacks deal bonus damage to yourself and the enemy target. This is one of the cursed items, like I said. So your basic attacks deal bonus damage to yourself and the target. This damage does not affect you while below 35%, so quite nice for low health fighting heroes, right? And then for every 100 health you are missing, gain 2.5% attack speed and 30 base health regen. Again, good for low health fighting heroes like Greystone. You cannot own more than one cursed item. Inquisition, upon casting ability, emit a shockwave that deals 60 magical damage to all heroes within its area. Psywave's damage is increased by 35% against monsters. I guess this is kind of a weird stat line for an item like this, but we'll see what that looks like. Plus 2% bonus health scaling. We'll see. Rebirth, this is kind of the goobery one that they showed off prior to the dev stream on the reveals, and also on the dev stream. The droney, while in a drone, now this is what I was talking about when removing uniqueness from hero kits. You think revive, you're thinking Zinx has got the revive. You're thinking Greystone's got a pseudo revive. He doesn't actually hit 0, but you have to hit it and he goes into stasis and then comes back up. But this is a true revive. Upon dying, after 1.75 seconds, you come back to life as a drone. If you survive for 7 seconds while in drone form, resurrect with 50 health and 50% health and mana. This is like a Zinx revive, except now anybody can have it just by building this item, which is quite, it takes away from some of that Zinx uniqueness, that I'm not really a big fan of. While in drone form, you can't use abilities or activate items, but you can basic attack. You can't lifesteal or critically strike. You have adjusted stats in this form, because you're droney. You don't have your normal stats. So this is a weird one, man. These are the type of things that when people see them, they say, does this fit in Predecessor? Does this fit with the theme that we've been going on in Predecessor? Not really, but we'll see how it plays in game. Shield transference. When a shield that is applied to you expires, 50% of its remaining value is restored as health over 3 seconds, reduced to 25% of its remaining value for shields that are applied by allies. This is kind of crazy. While shielded, gain 12% movement speed and 10% increased armors. This is kind of crazy. If you're playing with a Muriel in lane or something, or you have a Muriel across the map on your team, this is kind of crazy. Obviously, it's meant more for the self-shielding heroes, like Shimby, like Quang, who are going to be applying it to themselves. But still, that seems like it's pretty crazy. Anyone with a shield is going to be able to win trades very easily in solo lane with this. So we'll see how that goes in game. That kind of is might be one of the sneakier, overpowered ones. And then finally, Vainglory. Upon taking damage or dealing hero damage, gain a stack of Vanity for 4 seconds. Each stack increases your armors, which we talked about this in stream. This says armors. Generally in MOBAs, like in Smite, this will say, upon taking magical damage or physical damage, increase that armor type by whatever amount. This just says increase armors, so we're assuming that taking any damage increases both of your armors by 0.5%, stacking up to 10 times. And then while at max stacks, your armors are increased by an additional 10%, which is quite strong. If you're taking repeated tick damage, and this is reading like I'm reading it, of either type of damage is increasing both type of armors, this is quite strong, especially in combination with a big armor build. If you're going Cat Drive or if you're going Aegis of Aguilar, this is massive percent armor gains. So we will see. We will see on that one. That's the brief run through of all the items. I didn't go through all their stats, talk about all their costs, talk about who I would build them on. But that's the gist of the new items. Let me know you guys' thoughts on this. We're going quite long at this point. So just let me know your thoughts. This is all about discussion. I'll respond to all you guys in the comments. How do you feel about these new items? Are they game breaking? We've had people say, hey, not too many of these are even that attractive for me to buy. Some of them are too niche that I wouldn't even be interested in buying them in the majority of games or on the majority of heroes, which may on one hand be a good thing because they're not just going to be build these 6 items every single game. But at the same time, some of them have just really goobery VFX, and I don't know if I'm that big a fan of them. So we will see. World Shift, we already talked about this. Shields, this is just a bug fixed an issue where shields, when the first shield expiring, would remove other shields when they timed out. So in the World Shift, we already talked about. So hero balance, I think in the interest of making this video not ridiculously long, as we've already gone quite long here, I don't want to go over all of these hero balance changes too much. Most of them are very minor. Not very many heroes even receiving changes here. Argus, Bale, Fangmal, Grim, Kalari, Chimera, Bellica, Morgash, Morn, Muriel, Sereth, Skylar, Terra, Twin, Wukong, Yin, and Zarus. I've read through these previously. A couple of the highlights that I wanted to mention, because some of these are just so minor that I don't really think they matter. A couple of the big highlights are Sereth, some minor adjustments, 1 second longer cooldown isn't that big of a deal. The biggest ones I think are Chimera is for sure one of the biggest ones. Less health regen per stack, especially at higher levels here. 20 less health at the start of the game. Half a second longer cooldown on his Unleash. Doesn't sound like a lot, but generally you're not building that much haste on Chimera. You may build 40 to 60 haste on Chimera some games, but not every game. And then the cleave being reverted back to where it was before he got 100% cleave on the Unleash means his clear time is going to be significantly dampered just by this Unleash nerf, in conjunction with him having less health regen and a little bit longer ult cooldown. Kalari getting less scaling in a couple spots. Not too many changes here. There was at least one other that I wanted to mention, but most of these are very minor. Like you look at this, Cursed Edge just getting a hair more scaling for Bale. You know, Fangmal just getting a hair more basic flat and scaling damage on the hamstring. Very, very minor changes here. The bulk of all of this is for sure the item changes. One thing, Bellica minion execute on auto attacks is at 80% of normal execute threshold. This makes sense because her auto attacks are just way too crazy for clearing lane. Neuron Disruptor, the ultimate, now deals % of targets missing health when damaging manaless heroes. We were wondering how was this going to function with the new hero being introduced that is manaless. It now has a clause in there for manaless hero damage. So yeah, some minor quality of life changes, some shield decrease, just barely on, hold on, not on Sereth, on Muriel. Sereth, some slight changes. Skylar now executes minions at 60% of normal threshold when you're using the beam, no big deal there. Terra getting some desperation buffs. How do we make people want to play Terra? Well, you probably shouldn't have nerfed her 7 times in the first place. Slight changes to Twin. Gunslinger Pat getting a little bit extra attack speed from his passive. Some cooldown changes on Wukong. Yin. Slow duration. Like, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking, like a 0.05 second slow duration increase. Stuff like that. These are really minor hero changes. One of them that is relatively big here is the evade on Zarus. If you've been playing against Zarus recently, you know that he's been kind of bugged. His evade has been ridiculous. So bug fix, evade no longer grants excessive momentum when being used while falling downwards midair, and also a 2 second longer cooldown on evade at all ranks is going to definitely take Zarus' mobility down a notch. Spear also receiving slightly reduced damage, reduced scaling, and 1 second longer cooldowns in the late game. So expect Zarus to take a step back, except Chimera to take a step back. And the rest of these are really, really minor changes. I don't think these changes really do too much to Sereth. I don't think the scaling changes on like Kalari really do too much for. I mean, most of these heroes will still be in a good spot if they have been in a good spot. Just some really minor adjustments here. So that's it for the hero balance changes. Like I said, if you want to read into these specifically, you're welcome to open up these patch notes, but not that many heroes got changes. Item balance changes, again, not too many, very, very minor changes here. A couple changes to the stacking armor shred items. Ruthless Broadsword, of course, is just the tier 2, but you'll see it down here on like Viper and stuff getting slightly increased armor shred on these stacking armor shred items, which is interesting. Eviscerator getting a little bit of reduced bug fix, supposedly attack speed reduction. Ashbringer now changing around a little bit to where the refund is decreased, non-hero refund decreased, but now reduces cooldowns by 1.5% the original value when critically striking, so you're more incentivized to have more crit items with Ashbringer to get all of the same cooldowns that you were getting with it before, which I think makes sense. Make it a crit-focused cooldown item rather than just an auto-attack focused cooldown item. Getting a little bit more niche with it. Dust Devil getting a cost reduction. Spectra getting its prism damage or prisma damage increased by 10. Augmentation, power decreased to 30, but attack speed increased to 25. Basilisk, similar to, like I said, on Viper, getting a little bit stronger stacking armor shred on these items. Earthshaker shifting around to be more power forward and less attack speed focused, which is fine. It needs a little bit more to separate it from Rapture, you know, because before these were like the same items, and each patch they've kind of separated them out more and more. Mutilator, Devour now only applies once per ability. This was the fix all along, right? This was the fix all along. Rather than going in and saying, hey, Rampage with Mutilator is hitting too hard when he does the ground pound. Hey, this hero with Mutilator is hitting too hard, we need to nerf it. They finally figured it out. Just make it only apply once per ability. Of course, this hurts it a lot. This does hurt it on those items that have, on those heroes that have multi-hit abilities. And this is negatively impacting them quite a bit. It mentions, you know, Twin Blast, Fang Mao, Terra, all of which could proc it several times with their multi-hit abilities, cut through tanks. That was kind of the point, right? That was the point. Now it no longer functions like that. It'll still be good for sure in niche cases when they have multiple tanks, but keep in mind that change to Mutilator on your multi-hit abilities. Overlord getting its power decreased for more health. Kind of fair. You're getting a lot of power from Aegis of Aguilar anyway. Caustica getting a mana regen buff. Time Warp, unfortunately, getting the mana regen hit means you're still going to have to build both of these on most mages to keep up your mana. Magnify getting changed around here. Health reduction. Arcana passive reduced, and now it's shredding spells instead of having to stack up and hit an auto attack to get the shred. You now get damaging enemy heroes with abilities, shreds their magical armor by 6%, stacking up to 5 times. This is the magical version of Basilisk now that we've been asking for. So there you go, folks that have been asking for that. Starkiller bonus health damage increased from 5.5 to 6. Megacosm always going to be a staple. Spirit of Amir getting a nice rounded 200 health on it now instead of 175. Moonblade damage increased on Cresselia, but cooldown refund decreased to 12%. Everbloom getting a little cheaper. Lunaria getting 2 haste reduced. I don't know why they do this weird haste numbers anyway on items. Just make them all 5, 10, 15, 20, right? Alright, I actually timed out on my recording because I went too long here, so I had to restart. Lost a couple minutes there. Let's get back into it. True Silver, shifting around, giving heal and shield power now at the cost of 10 magical power. It's kind of interesting. Void Conduit getting a little bit better mana regen. I think this is a reversion of a previous state that it was in. Warp Stream, just getting a recipe change. Cat Drive getting a little bit less of the bonus physical or bonus health scaling on the damage that it does. Same thing with Cybernetic Drive when it upgrades, and giving a little bit less bonus armors with it as well. Tainted Guard getting less scaling on the damage that it deals now based off of physical armor. And then Void Helm getting a recipe change. So the highlights here for the item changes are just that Magnify is working more like the physical armor shred items of Basilisk and Viper. And of course the Basilisk and Viper items themselves are getting increased armor shred effectiveness by 1% per stack, which is quite interesting. Ashbringer being more focused on having to have other crit items to get the cooldown benefits from it, and Mutilator only proccing once per ability, so those multi-hit heroes going to have a little bit harder time tank killing with it. So the item and hero balance changes, like I said, are very minor in comparison to the new items that we're getting. We'll see how all this plays in game, and we will keep all this in mind when I do the 700 sub special all items tier list for you guys, which is going to include, of course, all of these items that are receiving balance changes, because it's all the items in the game, as well as the 8 new crest and 24 new tier 3 items, some bug fixes, and that's a wrap, folks. We hope you enjoy the upcoming changes and additions, and as always, can't wait to hear what you think. That's the point of this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this one. I know this is a long one. I know we went a long time. Check out the timestamps to go to specific parts. But 1.10, man, it's here today. Hop into it. Let me know when you get on it and play it, man, what your thoughts are. There's some stuff in here that I've been vocally against, like the world shift automatically triggering now at 14 minutes rather than giving us the opportunity to take a shaper and trigger that. I think that does remove some player agency from the matches, some strategy, if that's what you want to call it. I'm not a big fan of the world shifts in the first place, but hey, they're here. At least we've got 2 now to give a little bit of variety in games, but still, I'm just not that big a fan of them. I'd rather have good gameplay and regular game balance than this kind of spectacles, you know, that they want to, these big world event shifting spectacles that are happening. Kind of just reminds me too much of Fortnite, you know. I'd rather just have a nice balanced game. Speaking of a balanced game, Eden. What do you think about Eden? Is this hero going to break the meta? I mean, check out her ability overview video here. She looks absolutely ridiculous. A ranged and a melee hero, stance changer, and manaless all in one, man. Absolutely crazy what's going to be going on with Eden. It's hard to get too excited for any hero release now. Because of these last couple power creep hero releases, it's just hard for me to get excited for this, because we were excited for Rena. When Rena released, and it looked all cool before release, we were excited. When Yuri was released, we were so excited. Oh man, look at this cool new hero. And then it made the game worse. It made the games consistently less fun because they were game-breakingly overpowered for the first 3 to 6 weeks and banned in every single ranked game anyway. So is there any chance that a stance-changing manaless carry doesn't break the meta and is banned in every single ranked game? I doubt it, but hey, it is what it is. We'll see how it plays. We'll hop onto her on the day of release and feel it out, see how the builds go on her with all these new crazy items too. So thanks for stopping by. Let me know your thoughts on this one. I know I'm getting this one out late, but this is a huge set of patch notes, so I at least wanted to have a discussion video for you guys on them. And I was too busy this weekend to get it out. Look forward to the 700 sub special all items tier list. Probably going to take me a while to put that together, because now I've got an extra 24 items and 8 crest images to try to fit into that tier list. But we'll get on that for you guys. Thanks everyone for stopping by and supporting the channel. Come hang out with us in the live streams where we'll be trying out 1.10 live on the day of release. And don't forget to keep enjoying Pred, folks. Just keep enjoying Pred.